Camille for actually asking this question, and it had to do with like Ron and Stu. So, in your opinion, Ron and Stu stay on the team? I'm not sure about Ron. Maybe I could try him out until the trade deadline, but I feel like Stu has served his time. What do you guys think?
Um, do I think they should stay on the team? I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea. It all just depends on what the return is. Like if
Hmm.
you're not going to be shooing them off just for draft picks. I feel like these
Yeah.
are players that you're going to be packaging for something serious. Again, like Trey Murphy being a huge name, and if it costed one of those two guys to get him, I think it makes all the sense in the world. I've like people ask me all season, during my broadcast during the season, if you see Ron turning into a 20 point scorer per game. I personally don't. I don't think we've seen enough of his bag. I don't think we've seen enough growth in terms of that to look at him as a guy like that. He's a good transition scorer, really good defender, really good defensive playmaker. But I mean, Trey Murphy's he's a complete package of a player, man. Like I think he's a great number two option to have. I think he helps spread open a lot of what this team needs. And even with Stu, like I like what Stu does. But I feel like, Grant, I think his defensive, tenacity is great. I think you can, to some extent, fill that with a guy like Paul Reed that you already have on your roster. I don't think the Pistons take too much of a drop off if the Pistons lose Stu and they play Paul Reed about 20 minutes a night, and he has to be your new sixth, seventh man. I don't think that's a bad thing to have at all. So again, I'm not opposed to any ideas. Again, to me, in my opinion, I think the only untouchable name on this roster is Cade Cunningham. Everybody else, I'm willing to have a conversation about. Now, who, in terms of your interest in who what the return is going to be a separate convo in itself. But it has to be worth what the return is going to be, in my opinion.
I personally think like when you kind of look at the guys on the bench, I can understand why so many Pistons fans are like, if Duran's getting that money, like we got to get off Stu because like having that much money in your center crops is a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
I think these two are probably the most valuable on your bench. Like I think it really depends like what the trade package is to your point. Like I'm not opposed to having conversations about trading either one of these guys. It just depends like what the offer is. I personally think that Ron being Trajan's first pick, he might have a little bit more patience with him in
Yeah.
developing. I'd
Mm-hmm.
be really surprised if Ron is dealt by the deadline, just because I think they really like his shot long term, and he was starting to hit more 3 pointers towards the end of the season. And I think him not playing in the playoffs, you could tell it kind of bothered him. Like you could just
Mm-hmm.
tell, like looking on his face, like he wanted to be out there, he wanted to be competing.
Right.
Lost his rotation spot in the playoffs, but I think the Pistons are still like really invested into Ron Holland long term. To your point, like yeah, I don't know if he's going to be a 20 point per game scorer. On the Pistons. I'm just not sure. Like it would take like just a crazy amount of development over the next couple of seasons to see that. Stu, I think people kind of get on the injury, and like they have every right to kind of point that out. Like he has just been amazing when he's healthy, but he's had so many injuries. He had the suspension this year, and then he had the calf strain, which it looked good in the Magic series, but that calf series, it didn't seem like he had the same type of lift whatsoever. Seemed like he wasn't as effective as protecting the rim. So I mean, maybe you sell it high on him while you can. It really depends what the offer is.
Yeah, and I wish he didn't respond the way he did to that, because a lot of people were asking, "Dang, why? You come off an 8 block game against the Magic and you take a complete dip." And then when he responded publicly, he said, "I'm fine. I'm 100% okay." Like, all right, well, what's the problem then? Because now you just kind of selling yourself out and hanging yourself out there where people get asked questions. So, um, again, it's an unfortunate situation. I mean, everybody loves Stu. Everybody loves the energy, how he embodies, what Detroit basketball stands for. But the championship window was there. The Pistons extremely exceeded expectations at a high level this year. I don't think this is a failure at all. And people were upset about how Game 7 ended, and I get that. But this was an A plus. I don't want to say A plus. This was a successful season for the Detroit Pistons, and you want to grow from that. You don't want to take a step back. And again, in terms of how you capitalize or find a way to move forward, these are the kind of conversations and names that you're going to have to bring up. I agree. I still think Ron and Stu could have value coming off the bench for this team, but I don't think they're not irreplaceable for what you're looking for and for where you're going as well for the Pistons.
Yeah. Plus, I just don't know what their market is. Like, I
Right.
don't know what it would net you. Like, if you told me you could get first round pick for Stu, that's like not like late first round, you would have my interest.
Right.
Like, if you told me like a team's going to offer you a top 15, maybe late lottery pick for Stu, like I would at least listen to it. Like Ron, I do know a lot of teams around the league still have a lot of interest in Ron Holland. Like a lot of teams really are interested to see like what his trajectory is. So he actually does have a lot of value being a a former top 5 pick. It wouldn't surprise me if you start seeing, him in like maybe more of these mock trades this summer when the Pistons quote unquote trying to make a big move in these mock trades. But it'll be interesting. I want to ask you one more question and we'll wrap up.